Assalamu alaikum, everyone. This is Gazina Hussein. For today's program, we are going to start off with 15 minutes of Quran. So I would like to invite Brother Muhammad Raza to come and recite for us.
Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, dear brothers and sisters.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Inshallah, let me share my screen. Inshallah, I will recite 15 minutes of Quran from Surah Al-An'am, ayah number 111. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ولو أننا نزلنا إليهم الملائكة وكلمهم الموتى وحشرنا عليهم كل شيء قبلا ما كانوا ليؤمنوا إلا أن يشاء الله ولكن أكثرهم يجهلون وكذلك جعلنا لكل نبي عدوا شياطين الإنس والجن يوحي بعضهم إلى بعض زخرف القول غرورا ولو شاء ربك ما فعلوه فذرهم وما يفترون ولتصغى إليه أفئدة الذين لا يؤمنون بالآخرة وليرضوه وليقترفوا ما هم مقترفون أفغير الله أبتغي حكما وهو الذي أنزل إليكم الكتاب مفصلا والذين آتيناهم الكتاب يعلمون أنه منزل من ربك بالحق فلا تكونن من الممترين وتمت كلمة ربك صدقا وعدلا لا مبدل لكلماته وهو السميع العليم وإن تطع أكثر من في الأرض يضلوك عن سبيل الله إن يتبعون إلا الظن وإن هم إلا يخرصون إن ربك هو أعلم من يضل عن سبيله وهو أعلم بالمهتدين فكلوا مما ذكر اسم الله عليه إن كنتم بآياته مؤمنين وما لكم ألا تأكلوا مما ذكر اسم الله عليه وقد فصل لكم ما حرم عليكم إلا ما اضطررتم إليه وإن كثيرا ليضلون بأهوائهم بغير علم إن ربك هو أعلم بالمعتدين وذروا ظاهر الإثم وباطنه إن الذين يكسبون الإثم سيجزون بما كانوا يقترفون ولا تأكلوا مما لم يذكر اسم الله عليه وإنه لفسق
وإن الشياطين ليوحون إلى أوليائهم ليجادلوكم وإن أطعتموهم إنكم لمشركون أومن كان ميتا فأحييناه وجعلنا له نورا يمشي به في الناس كمن مثله في الظلمات ليس بخارج منها كذلك زين للكافرين ما كانوا يعملون وكذلك جعلنا في كل قرية أكابر مجرميها ليمكروا فيها وما يمكرون إلا بأنفسهم وما يشعرون وإذا جاءتهم آية قالوا لن نؤمن حتى نؤتى مثل ما أوتي رسل الله الله أعلم حيث يجعل رسالته سيصيب الذين أجرموا صغار عند الله وعذاب شديد بما كانوا يمكرون فمن يرد الله أن يهديه يشرح صدره للإسلام ومن يرد أن يضله يجعل صدره ضيقا حرجا كأنما يصعد في السماء كذلك يجعل الله الرجس على الذين لا يؤمنون وهذا صراط ربك مستقيما قد فصلنا الآيات لقوم يذكرون لهم دار السلام عند ربهم وهو وليهم بما كانوا يعملون ويوم يحشرهم جميعا يا معشر الجن قد استكثرتم من الإنس وقال أولياؤهم من الإنس ربنا استمتع بعضنا ببعض وبلغنا أجلنا الذي أجلت لنا قال النار مثواكم خالدين فيها إلا ما شاء الله إن ربك حكيم عليم وكذلك نولي بعض الظالمين بعضا بما كانوا يكسبون يا معشر الجن والإنس ألم يأتكم رسل منكم يقصون عليكم آياتي وينذرونكم لقاء يومكم هذا قالوا شهدنا على أنفسنا وغرتهم الحياة الدنيا وشهدوا على أنفسهم أنهم كانوا كافرين ذلك أن لم يكن ربك مهلك القرى بظلم وأهلها غافلون ولكل درجات مما عملوا وما ربك بغافل عما يعملون وربك الغني ذو الرحمة إن يشأ يذهبكم ويستخلف من بعدكم ما يشاء كما أنشأكم من ذرية قوم آخرين إنما توعدون لآت وما أنتم بمعجزين قل يا قوم اعملوا على مكانتكم إني عامل فسوف تعلمون من تكون له عاقبة الدار إنه لا يفلح الظالمون. وجعلوا لله مما ذرأ من الحرث والأنعام نصيبا فقالوا هذا لله بزعمهم وهذا لشركائنا فما كان لشركائهم فلا يصل إلى الله وما كان لله فهو يصل إلى شركائهم ساء ما يحكمون. وكذلك زين لكثير من المشركين قتل أولادهم شركاؤهم ليردوهم وليلبسوا عليهم دينهم ولو شاء الله ما فعلوه فذرهم وما يفترون. وقالوا هذه أنعام وحرث حجر لا يطعمها إلا من نشاء بزعمهم وأنعام حرمت ظهورها وأنعام لا يذكرون اسم الله عليها افتراء عليه سيجزيهم بما كانوا يفترون. وقالوا ما في بطون هذه الأنعام خالصة لذكورنا ومحرم على أزواجنا وإن يكن ميتة فهم فيه شركاء سيجزيهم وصفهم إنه حكيم عليم. قد خسر الذين قتلوا أولادهم سفها بغير علم وحرموا ما رزقهم الله افتراء على الله قد ضلوا وما كانوا مهتدين. وهو الذي أنشأ جنات معروشات وغير معروشات والنخل والزرع مختلفا أكله والزيتون والرمان متشابها وغير متشابه كلوا من ثمره إذا أثمر وآتوا حقه يوم حصاده ولا تسرفوا إنه لا يحب المسرفين. ومن الأنعام حمولة وفرشا كلوا مما رزقكم الله ولا تتبعوا خطوات الشيطان إنه لكم عدو مبين. 8 أزواج من الضأن 2 ومن المعز 2 قل الذكرين حرم أم الأنثيين أما اشتملت عليه أرحام الأنثيين نبئوني بعلم إن كنتم صادقين. ومن الإبل 2 ومن البقر 2 قل الذكرين حرم أم الأنثيين أما اشتملت عليه أرحام الأنثيين أم كنتم شهداء إذ وصاكم الله بهذا فمن أظلم ممن افترى على الله كذبا ليضل الناس بغير علم إن الله لا يهدي القوم الظالمين. صدق الله العلي العظيم. اللهم صل على محمد.
Okay, so now we would like to move on with the rest of the program. So for today, we actually have, again, Dr. Fatima Madani, who will be speaking for us today on health and well-being during Ramadan. So the session that we had originally planned about dieting during Ramadan will actually take place on May 7th. Details will be sent to all of you as well. So just a quick recap, Dr. Fatima is actually an endocrinologist in San Jose, California. She graduated from LSU in New Orleans in 2010. She completed her internal medicine residency and endocrine fellowship at UC Davis and is currently practicing at Kaiser San Jose since 2015. So for today, we'll have 30 minutes lecture with her, and then after that, we'll have a 15-minute Q&A. So if any of you all have questions during the session or questions regarding the material that's presented in the session, then please feel free to message any of the hosts today. So just to clarify, the hosts are Gazina, which is me, and then Apsa Network, which is one of the hosts, and then Dr. Fatima is also one of the hosts, and Brother Muhammad Reza. So if you have any questions, just feel free to ask any of us, and we will make sure that it's processed in the Q&A session. So if I can invite her with a loud salawat, that would be great. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Can you hear? Is video and audio working?
Yes. I'm going to share the screen.
Mhm.
Okay, Assalamu alaikum. So I'm going to be talking about health during Ramadan in the COVID-19 era. The outline of my talk is going to first start with discussing some health benefits with fasting, and then some conditions like diabetes and thyroid condition if you have, and what you can do if you're fasting. Then we'll talk about some healthy food options during Ramadan. We'll talk about portion control using the plate method, the importance of exercise during Ramadan. And then we'll switch gears and talk about the immune system, the essential vitamins and foods that you can consider to take to help boost your immune system, and then talk about herbal supplements and possibly some supplements if you do become ill. A quick disclaimer, I hope these slides will be helpful, and I hope you can take some information from the slides, but they don't replace your doctor's recommendations, and ultimately you should talk to your doctor about specific recommendations regard to you and the details of your medical health. These tips also do not guarantee that you will not become ill or contract COVID-19. Okay, so starting off, fasting during the month of Ramadan is usually for a period of 29 to 30 days. And we don't eat or drink during the hours of sunlight. It's one of the pillars of Islam, and the main reason to fast is spiritual. So it's an act of worship, a chance to become closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to practice self-discipline, self-control, sacrifice, feeling empathy towards those that are less fortunate, and to give charity. With that being said, there are some health benefits with fasting during Ramadan. One is body weight. So you can lose weight during Ramadan and decrease your body fat if you do calorie restriction. The caveat is that if you do lose weight during Ramadan and you go back to your pre-Ramadan dietary habits, then you will regain that weight. Fasting can help lower the bad cholesterol, so lowering the total cholesterol, LDL, and triglycerides, and increasing the good cholesterol by increasing HDL. Fasting has been shown to help with lowering your blood sugars by improving our sensitivity to the insulin that we're making. It also helps decrease inflammatory markers by boosting the immune system, reducing the oxidative stress, which studies have been shown to help, which can help prevent neurodegenerative disorders and help boost the brain function. So this slide lists some of the benefits of fasting. And if you do a search on the literature that's published for the effects of fasting, specifically the type of fast that we do during Ramadan and the effects on the body, you might see variable results. And this is because there are many confounders. For example, the length of time that we're fasting varies year to year. The types of meals that people might consume and the amount that they might eat can vary. How much physical exercise, activity, how much fluid intake, and then lifestyle habits that you may have, such as smoking, can affect the results. If you do have a medical condition or take medications and you decide you will fast, it's really important to talk to your doctor, ideally prior to starting the month of Ramadan, so that way you can have a good evaluation and a plan moving forward. With that being said, we'll talk about diabetes. So studies have shown that approximately 40% of people who have type 1 diabetes fast during Ramadan, and about 70 to 80% of people who have type 2 diabetes are fasting. Fasting is not meant to create excessive hardship, and sick people are exempt from fasting, but the decision to fast is very personal. And if someone wishes to fast who has diabetes, it's really important to discuss this with your doctor and religious scholar and to be aware of the potential risks. There's this really nice paper that was published a few years ago that risk stratifies patients who have diabetes into different categories. And so this is a great way to have counseling with your doctor a couple of months before Ramadan to see where you fall. So people who are very high risk, so those that would be type 1 diabetics or have severe episodes of low blood sugars or hypoglycemia within the last 3 months prior to starting Ramadan, or they're unaware that they have low blood sugars, they don't get the symptoms, or have ketoacidosis, which is a medical emergency for diabetics, they fall in the high risk, very high risk category. Those that are high risk are those that have A1Cs of 7.5 to 9%, those that have kidney issues from the diabetes, those that live alone or have many other medical problems. And then moderate risk are those that are well controlled and they're on medications that can cause insulin production. Those people should definitely meet with their doctor, come up with a plan, have close follow-up and monitoring of their blood sugars and possibly adjustment of their medications to have an optimal fast. People who are low risk, so those that are well-controlled diabetics that are not on any medication, or if they are, they're on metformin or medicines that will not have a low risk of low blood sugars, can safely fast. So just a summary about diabetes and fasting is that it's important to have a plan with your doctor to have adjustment of these medications that's specific to you and your medical condition, and to have the ability to test your blood sugars often using your meter or your continuous glucose monitor. It's super important to eat a healthy, balanced diet and to stay hydrated during the times that we can't eat and drink. You want to do physical activity, but you want to avoid excessive exercise. And then at the same time, be prepared that you may need to break your fast if you develop low blood sugar or really high blood sugars or feel unwell. Okay, shifting gears, we're going to talk about the thyroid. So this is our gland that we all have that sits in the front part, lower part of our neck, and it makes a hormone that goes into the bloodstream and affects every tissue in our body. Its use is that it affects our energy, our metabolism, it regulates our temperature. And one condition with the thyroid can be hypothyroidism or an underactive thyroid. So the treatment for this is to take a thyroid supplement, and usually the optimal time is to take it in the morning on an empty stomach, waiting about 30 minutes before you eat. So during Ramadan, an option would be to take this thyroid supplement 30 minutes before you eat suhoor, or if you don't want to wake up that soon before suhoor, you can take the pill 4 hours after you eat iftar. So healthy food options during Ramadan. So we know that fasting is a great way to reset and detox the body, but it's super important to replenish the fluids during suhoor and iftar by drinking lots of water and eating hydrating fruits and vegetables. So it's recommended that we drink 2 to 3 liters of fluids per day, with the caveat that you have a really strong, healthy heart and kidneys. So if you don't, then you need to follow your doctor's recommendation in terms of your fluid intake. You want to try to limit coffee, as this can be really dehydrating. Avoid cold drinks, and then consider green tea, which has a lot of antioxidants. This picture shows some fruits and vegetables that have a high content of water. So cucumbers, lettuce, tomatoes are really great vegetables. Fruit like watermelon, citrus fruits like grapefruit, melon, pineapples are really great. So suhoor, meal planning or meal prepping. You can consider eating complex carbs, which are different than the white refined carbs. These make us feel full and last longer, and they include brown rice, wholemeal bread, quinoa, and oats. Consider eating some protein or adding protein. And this usually we think about meat, but don't forget the beans, the chickpeas, the lentils, and then also low-fat dairy products like yogurt and cheese. We want to include some fruits or vegetables, which is a good source of fiber and helps colon health. Staying hydrated, and then if your suhoor isn't really well balanced, you might consider taking a multivitamin for a boost. And then we can also consider eating some unsaturated fats like avocado, unsalted nuts, fish, and olive oil. It's a nice picture of some dates. So for iftar, some helpful tips are to try to eat maybe 2 to 3 dates when you open your fast, and some water maybe for the first 30 minutes after iftar. If you eat a really heavy meal, this cannot be, it's not really helpful to the body, because you may notice that you'll feel really tired after you open your fast if you eat a really heavy meal and eat, very quickly. So you want to try to open your fast with something lighter, maybe pray, say a dua to kind of help your body get adjusted, and then afterwards have a good balanced meal. So this might include some healthy proteins, vegetables, fruit, complex carbs, and fluids. For iftar, you want to try to avoid eating the fried and processed foods, and then try to eat slowly. So by chewing more, by focusing on where your food has come from, enjoying your meal to help you avoid overeating. This is a picture of some food options, although there's many, many different food options that you can do. But for example, for suhoor, you can have oatmeal with some fruits or some eggs with wholemeal toast. For iftar, you might start with a soup, vegetable soup with some pasta, or maybe you can consider having some grilled lean meat, chicken, or fish with some vegetables, brown rice or quinoa. Okay, so we talked about some of the health benefits, and if you're trying to lose weight, you want to do some portion control. So the plate method is a way to figure out how much to eat. So you have to take a typical plate, which is around 9 inches in diameter. You split the plate in half, and you want to have half of your plate filled with vegetables. About a third or a fourth of your plate should be protein, and then the rest starch. Things to avoid, even though these are super tempting, you want to try to avoid these processed foods, refined carbohydrates. They can really be a source of causing fatigue, and they have a high sugar and fat content, so it makes it harder for the body to digest. Exercise is also important during Ramadan. So it's been shown that we should consider doing about 30 minutes of exercise or physical activity every day. You want to avoid high intensity or aggressive workouts during the daytime, and especially in hot weather, which could lead to dehydration. You want to try to find a convenient time to work out, either just before iftar or 2 to 3 hours after iftar. You want to try to consider avoiding physical activity immediately after you break your fast. Again, all the energy or most of the energy is used to help with digestion. And if you stop fasting during Ramadan, you might start to feel really your mood might start changing. You might feel really tired. You might feel like you're losing strength, and also feeling like your cognition or the way that you think may be different by stopping the exercise. If you do have some health conditions or you're unsure about your health, before you start a program like marathon training or something like this, you want to consult your doctor. And then it's important to be drinking, again, lots of fluids, water between iftar and suhoor to prevent dehydration. Okay, switching gears. So we're going to talk about the immune system. So especially during this time of COVID-19, the immune system is our body's defense mechanism to protect us. And we need to focus on strengthening our immune system. The immune system has many components and players, and one of the most important players are the white blood cells. So if you go to the doctor and get a blood draw, when they look at the white blood cells, it's made up of different key players. So the neutrophils are the majority of the white blood cells. Then you have lymphocytes and monocytes. The eosinophils are activated during fungal infections, and then basophils during allergies. This picture looks at some of the organs that are involved with the immune system, such as our thymus, our spleen. We have lymph nodes scattered throughout the body. We have lymphatic tissue in the gut, and then our bone marrow, and then smaller components like our T cells, our B cells, and antibodies. So during an infection, we have 4 phases of immune system activation. So we'll talk about these key players. The first phase is that we have our tissue macrophages. These are like our reserves. These are white blood cells that are present in each tissue in our body, just hanging out, our lungs, our heart, all of our tissues. They're activated within the first few minutes in response to an infection, and they perform this process called phagocytosis, which means that it eats or engulfs the virus. The next step is that we get our soldiers called in. So the neutrophils respond to the virus or infection within a couple of hours, and they also perform this phagocytosis. Once you start having some of these key players being used up during the infection, you then get the recruitment of the monocytes and the lymphocytes, which get converted to tissue macrophages to fight the infection. About the third or fourth day of the infection, you then start getting replenishment of the defense system by producing more white blood cells from the bone marrow. So looking at those 4 phases, we see that the white blood cells are the soldiers of our defense system, and we need these white blood cells to be strong to be able to fight the infection. So we're going to talk about different vitamins that are needed to help boost these key players. So the tissue macrophages, this picture shows they have different names depending on what tissue they reside in. They need vitamin D. So vitamin D is going to be a recurring vitamin for a lot of these phases. I'm going to talk about some doses here, but you can get vitamin D from dietary sources, and in fact, it may even be better than the pills. However, if you're thinking about supplementing your diet by taking pills, I'm going to be listing some of the doses. So for vitamin D, it helps the tissue macrophages kill the infection, and you want to take about 800 to 5,000 international units per day. However, saying that, this is a fat-soluble vitamin, which means that it needs to be taken with food. And then also, since it's fat-soluble, you can reach toxic states if you take too much. So I usually do blood tests on my patients to kind of see where they're starting off with. And then if they're really low, they might need higher doses. And if you're not that low, you might need somewhere in the middle. Zinc is really important, so about 10 milligrams per day. The maximum is about 40 milligrams per day. Vitamin A is, again, another super important vitamin, about 900 micrograms per day, max about 3,000 per day. This is another fat-soluble vitamin, so it needs to be taken with food, and then you need to be cautious if you overdose on it. Neutrophils, so here's a picture to the right about these neutrophils. Vitamin A is important, and so is vitamin C. So this is about 1,000 to 2,000 milligrams per day, enhances the phagocytosis and reduces our incubation time. Things that bother these neutrophils and cause them not to be able to fight the infection properly is processed sugar. So try to avoid eating processed sugar. Lymphocytes, they also get recruited to the fight, and they need vitamin D. The bone marrow, which produces a lot of these white blood cells, needs vitamin A. Vitamin E, which is another fat-soluble vitamin, it's about 15 milligrams per day and maximum about 1,000 milligrams per day. Vitamin B6, which helps with the humoral immune system, is about 10 to 50 milligrams per day on an empty stomach, maximum of about 100 milligrams per day. So to summarize, vitamins are helpful in filling the gaps in our diet. And the best way to get these essential nutrients is through food. Your body absorbs and uses these vitamins better when they come from a dietary source, because some of these supplements may have varying bioavailability. So like how much we see from taking the supplement, how much our body can use from the supplement may vary. And then these supplements are not regulated by the FDA. Some of the supplements can actually interact with prescription and over-the-counter medications. Some may not be appropriate for people who have certain medical conditions. And then, like I mentioned, vitamin A, D, and E are fat-soluble, so you have to make sure that you're not taking way too much. So with that being said, let's talk about the foods. So here's some pictures of some foods that can help boost the immune system. Bone broth is really great, rich in amino acids. Yogurt is also really good, a natural source of probiotics and essential nutrients. Black seed and Manuka honey. So Manuka honey is a little bit more expensive than regular honey. It's in New Zealand, and studies have been show that it has some antimicrobial properties. So it's used for like wounds. Eating salt and freshwater fish is really good. Nuts, which is a great source of selenium. Garlic and onion, these are superfoods, antimicrobial immune boosting properties. Turmeric, which active ingredient is curcumin. A lot of people use this in food. You can also make a tea or a milk drink from this. So we mentioned some of the vitamins previously. So what are some foods that have zinc? So you can find this in meat. You can find it in yogurt. It's fortified in milk and dairy products. You can also see it in spinach and beans. Selenium is seen in Brazil nuts or cashews. You can see it in fish. And then you can also see it in some dairy products and then vegetables like potatoes. Vitamin A, again, is seen in a variety of these that I've listed here. So spinach, carrots, broccoli, fish. Vitamin B6 is seen in chickpeas, salmon, tuna, chicken breast, and then a lot of vegetables, tofu, spinach. Vitamin C, we think of the citrus fruits, which are really great, and then the leafy greens, so like spinach, cabbage, Brussels sprouts, broccoli, really great, green peppers. Vitamin D, dairy products, fish, you can also get it from the sun. Vitamin E in nuts like sunflower seeds, almonds, hazelnuts, peanut butter and peanuts, and then spinach and broccoli. All right, some people might think about taking some herbal supplements. Again, these are not FDA approved, and you might have to take them for a long period of time to really see the effects. So one thing that's been shown is echinacea, which is a daisy flower, has a really strong antiviral, so like for the cold, antibacterial herb. You can buy this in the form of an extract, like a tablet or a tea. Astragalus root is another traditional Chinese herbal supplement. It's an adaptogenic herb or tonic. It's really important to have garlic, turmeric, and ginger, which have many properties that are really good for the body. Elderberries, which are an antioxidant, anti-inflammatory supplement. So you can take it as a liquid or a capsule. Andrographis is shown to be antiviral, especially with these viral digestive diseases. Medicinal mushrooms like the shiitake mushrooms, and then amla, which is a really good source of vitamin C, or the Indian gooseberry. If you do become ill, what are some supplements that you might want to have in your pantry? With COVID-19, there's some breathing issues. So some people have studied or looked at making peppermint, eucalyptus, or spearmint oil steam baths. So that can help with some breathing. You want to have some vitamin C, vitamin D, and zinc tablets around, and then maybe some carob molasses or essence. Manuka honey, we talked about, has a lot of these antimicrobial properties. So some people usually take this with like a teaspoon of the honey with a half cup of warm water, or you can take it with, have some black seed in there as well to help the body fight infection. You can also consider doing some gargling with sea salt or Himalayan salt, or some people use the steam by taking salt, lemon, and boil it in some water. So in summary, fasting is a good way to reset and cleanse our body, so it has a lot of health benefits to us. And we want to make sure during this time that we're eating a healthy diet, we're staying really well hydrated for the times that we can eat. And then if you have any pre-existing medical conditions, it's a good idea to touch base with your doctor. And if you are worried about the COVID-19 infection, you can try to boost your immune system by making sure you're getting enough of these vitamins and natural foods. And then you might consider some herbal medications. So that's the end of my talk. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Excellent.
Assalamu alaikum. This is Mortaza from Absa Network. Thanks a lot, Sister Fatima, for your great presentation. That was very informative and instructive. Jazakallah khair. And so we will have our Q&A session. And now, so far we got one question. I'm going to send it to Sister Fatima now, and then she can read that and answer that. Oh, sorry. Okay, I have some problem. So I'm going to read the question, and it would be great if you can answer that. How does suhoor affect our diet and well-being throughout the day? Does having a heavy suhoor affect our body's balance in the day? What is recommended to eat then?
Yeah, so suhoor is really an essential part of fasting. It's really recommended not to skip suhoor. So if you can wake up and eat something, it's been shown to be helpful. So like I mentioned, there's certain foods that you can consider eating. So kind of having a balanced meal if you can, or certain days like alternating some of the foods that you're eating to make sure that you get some carb, some protein, some healthy fat, so to keep you going. I didn't mention what happens during fasting, but our body basically, when we're not eating, our blood sugar levels come down. and we start breaking down glycogen in our liver for a source of sugar. And then after we've been into the fast for a few days, our glycogen stores kind of deplete, and then we start breaking down our fat. And so keeping a healthy, well-balanced meal during suhoor is important. Sometimes some people recommend having maybe a lighter meal for iftar is a good idea. Some people talk about breaking up your fast into 3 meals by doing a suhoor, an iftar, and then something at midnight. Although your sleep may be really broken if you try doing that, and sleep is also super important during this time as well to try to get at least 6 to 8 hours of sleep.
Thanks a lot for your answer. And if there is any questions, you can directly send to Sister Fatima, or you can send it to me. Okay, we have one other question. Can you make any recommendations about maintaining our sleep hygiene during the month?
Yeah, so it's really important. Sleep is very important for restoration of our body. There also, I can speak to the hormones, a lot of hormones that are being released during this time when we're sleeping to help, like growth hormone, cortisol. We have a lot of hormones that are being secreted during the testosterone, a lot of hormones that are being made. So if you can try to sleep, again, like 6 to 8 hours, that would be really helpful for your body. Making sure that, yeah, you do stress reduction, you, especially during this time where there's lots of news, information, a lot of stuff that's coming out that can make us stressed out. Working on that during this month, getting closer to God with spirituality, getting closer through the Quran, listening to spiritual lectures is really good. And then at the same time, you know, mind, body is all connected. So what you eat, exercise, and how you think will help you be healthy.
Thanks a lot. And next question is regarding exercise. How much is recommended, and what types of exercise do you recommend? For example, cardio is probably a bad idea. Then what is better?
Yeah, so like I mentioned in the slide, it's a good idea not to stop physical activity during Ramadan. You want to have some physical activity during Ramadan. Since we are fasting, you may not want to do excessive or those high intensity exercises because it can cause dehydration. So things that you can do is walking is a good idea. Again, if you live somewhere where it's really hot, really humid, maybe walking outside is not really great, but staying well hydrated after you open your fast will help you. But having some physical activity is good. So things that are low intensity exercises.
Thanks. And we also got one question from YouTube. Is it possible to get all the necessary essential vitamins only from food?
Yeah, so most of these vitamins are in food. Vitamin D you can also get from the sun, but a lot of these vitamins are from food. So it's just that sometimes our food choices may not be very balanced, and so people revert to taking or adding some boosting supplements like a multivitamin to our regimen to help boost our consumption. Again, though, it's very hard to tell from these supplements that you take how much you're actually getting or how much your body is really absorbing. The same applies to food. So you have to look at the serving size and how much of these vitamins are in each serving size of, like, let's say a cup of broccoli that you're going to eat to see how much you're getting. So I usually take a vitamin to just kind of supplement what I'm taking in from my diet to help out.
Thanks a lot. I got a few more questions. If it's possible, we can answer that. That would be great.
Sure.
For the people who have limited access to meat, how can we compensate for that during this month?
Yeah, so protein is found in meat, but you can also get it through beans, and the low-fat dairy products have a really good source of protein. So you can supplement the meat with something else that has protein.
Thanks. The next question would be also, what supplements do you recommend for a hypothyroidism? I can,
Hypothyroidism, yeah.
yeah, especially for the month of Ramadan.
So there are 3 supplements, so zinc, selenium, and iodine. Studies have been shown that people who have Hashimoto's hypothyroidism, which is the most common cause of hypothyroidism, it's an autoimmune condition that causes inflammation and basically attacking of the thyroid that then leads to low thyroid hormone levels. It's been shown that if you take some of these supplements, it might help with production of thyroid hormone. If you're at the point though where your thyroid is now no longer making any thyroid hormone, and you can tell this by if you're on a really high dose of thyroid supplement, you can still take these supplements, but essentially you're getting all of your body's thyroid hormone from the supplement, from the thyroid medication. But usually the vitamins that have been studied for thyroid are zinc, selenium, and iodine.
Thank you so much. The next question is, are there gender-specific health considerations that men and women should be taking separately during Ramadan?
That's a really good question. I did see that some of the studies have shown differences in terms of like body weight or body fat that we lose or not lose during Ramadan. So it seems like there are some differences, but it's really hard to tease out the specific differences because there's so many confounders looking at the studies. I don't have any specific recommendations for gender-specific, vitamins or supplements to take. But yeah, so yeah, I have to look into that a little bit more.
Yeah, that would be great if you can provide us more information so we can post it on our WhatsApp chat.
Sure.
That would be great. So the other question from YouTube is that, would you please recommend good multivitamins?
Yeah, so again, there's not like something that's been studied. I usually look at Whole Foods or Sprouts. They have some really good multivitamins, like you can take the women's or the men's. Looking back at the amount that's in each of these vitamins is also really important. So like sometimes they have age-specific ranges or age-specific vitamins, and they tend to have different amounts of some of the different vitamins that are needed at different times in our life. So that's kind of good to look at. Another thing that you can look at is Nature Made has some really good vitamins. So those have been, those are the ones that I usually recommend.
Thank you. The next question is, how is caffeine affecting the metabolism of fasting?
Yeah, so during Ramadan, you want to try to avoid caffeinated drinks as much as possible. So I usually try to limit, like if you're a really big coffee drinker, try cutting back on the amount that you're drinking, and then maybe supplement with other types of drinks. So carbonated, the sodas and coffee, if you can cut back on those, is really a good idea.
Thank you. And also, would you please share your presentation with us so we can then share it with our members?
Sure. I'll send you it all.
That would be great. So if you have time, we can probably answer a few more questions. So I got one more. Does vitamin D affect depression? Does fasting have any effects on feeling of depression?
Yeah, so a few years ago, there were some studies on vitamin D and all of the great benefits. They had a lot of benefits listed for vitamin D. So I really do believe in vitamin D if your vitamin D levels are really low. And a lot of people do have low vitamin D. So it's not about, how much sun exposure you get. A lot of people, even in really sun-rich areas like California, have vitamin D deficiency. So it's not a bad idea to kind of check. There are also certain medical conditions that can predispose you to having malabsorption and having inability to get enough vitamin D from your food, like celiac disease. So it's a good idea, part of like at least a one-time blood test to kind of check and see where your vitamin D levels are. But it has been shown to help with weakness, like muscle weakness. If you have really low levels, your bones get weak, you get achy, your mood gets low. So yeah, vitamin D, and then as we saw, like a really good an essential vitamin that's needed for the immune system. With a caveat though that you don't want to go overboard with vitamin D. So sometimes when you look at some some of these recommendations, people are talking about really high doses. I mean, you can probably get any kind of dose of vitamin D. And so that you need to be careful for. They do make really high doses, like 50,000 international units, or 300,000 units. These are for people who have really low levels, and it's for a period of time. So that needs to be up to the discretion of your doctor if they're going to give you a treatment dose of those high doses. But yeah, there's a lot of really great benefits with vitamin D.
Thanks. And the last question is, how do we get halal vitamin D? Do you have any suggestions?
Yeah, so usually vitamin D is in a capsule form, and sometimes they make it with gelatin. I found some at Whole Foods and Sprouts using vegetable products, like to make that capsule form. So you can find halal versions of vitamin D. And then, like I said, some of these, the foods, so like in dairy and fish, you'll get the natural sources of vitamin D as well.
Thanks a lot, Sister Fatima. We really appreciate that, and we appreciate your time and your patience. And as appreciation for that, we would like to mail you a small gift from Absent Network, and that's like just for appreciate and thank for your.
That's
for all
really
your
sweet.
effort.
I'm really when I got the message to come and fill in for the speaker who was supposed to talk, it's really been an honor for this opportunity to give me to come and talk. I hope the slides were helpful. I specialize in hormones. We didn't talk a lot about hormones in this talk, but health is really important, and overall well-being during Ramadan is important, and after Ramadan as well. So I hope you found some of the slides helpful, and I will send you the slides so that you can post them.
Thanks a lot. The slides definitely was helpful a lot. And again, thanks a lot for your time. And so I would like to ask Brother Muhammad Reza for recitation of Dua Faraj, inshallah, for the end of the meeting tonight.
Thanks, brother. Inshallah. We'll recite Dua Faraj together.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة بن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة، وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا، حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا. اللهم صل.
Thank you, Brother Mama Reza. Also, we'll have tomorrow a session about wisdom from Imam Ali for uncertain times. So we'll post that would be the same link, and we'll post a poster, inshallah, on our WhatsApp channel and the other media that we have. Thanks a lot for joining to our session today. And inshallah, you'll have a great night, and see you all tomorrow.